Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. We have Star Citizen Alpha 3.22, which looks like it's going to be imminently released to live, and a patch watch from CIG giving us updates to changes coming to master modes that are going to be further tested in that major new patch. Master modes being the core flight and combat mechanics. Star Citizen Alpha 3.22. Very close to release. The Aopoa, Santok Yai, and Origin X1 are now in the EPTU 3.22 build being tested. The latest patch also added some landing gear polish on the Santok Yai. It fixed various crashes and performance issues. Oddly, it removed shield components from most bikes. I haven't actually gone through the full list yet, but some bikes are supposed to have shields, we know that. There isn't much of an explanation of why they've done that. Assumedly, some bikes will have shields, and it's only going to be the combat-focused ones or ones that we expect to have shields. Hopefully CIG will give a bit of a deeper response to that in the near future. I am expecting the live build for 3.22 to be this weekend, most likely anyway. But it's going to be dependent on getting a stable performant build ready and getting through more of the most egregious known issues, because spawning issues for this patch of all kinds have been a highlight, unfortunately. Patch needs to be in a really good state while Cloud Imperium go off to the holidays, because a lot of people are going to be playing around Christmas. There's not going to be as much chance to bug fix and that sort of stuff around that time, and it's going to be in our hands for at least some time, that 3.22 patch. There is also a patch watch going over some features that you might have missed in 3.22 that are going to be added. This time, they look at master modes in Arena Commander that are being tested in experimental modes. For those of you that know or even don't know, you can test master modes out in experimental modes in Arena Commander at the moment. Cloud Imperium very much want people's feedback for that, because it is going to affect the whole way the game plays when it comes to ship combat and quantum travel and deciding how to engage and all that sort of jazz, because you basically have nav mode where you can fly fast, you can go above your SCM speeds, you can quantum boost, you can quantum jump, but you don't have access to your shields and weapons. Or you can be in SCM mode, you're basically combat mode, where you've got access to all of your ship systems, but you can't quantum travel, you can't quantum boost, you can't go above your SCM speeds, but you do have access to your weapons and shields. I also potentially think the plan is to have your ship come to a halt, maybe, before you actually start quantum traveling. So you sort of slow down, then you start accelerating it into quantum, but we'll have to wait and see if that is actually the case. From the Patch Watch post about master modes, Cloud Imperium said, in Alpha 3.20 and 3.21, you got a first glimpse at master modes with the experimental Arena Commander game modes. Our main learnings from data and feedback were, following the initial changes, combat is closer and feels more engaging, removing the rule that weapon size must be reduced by 1 if the weapon is attached to a gimbal, had no negative impact on balancing. There is no clear advantage in input methods over each other. Tricording, limiting in general works, but is too restrictive outside mouse and keyboard input devices. Tricording being moving sort of like a multiple axis to get the load of acceleration boost. In a 1v1, players sometimes feel locked in with no other options than DPS racing. Based on the data we received from your play sessions, we've adjusted the playtests for Alpha 3.22, we've updated a few IFCS features, flight model tuning, and weapon properties. Furthermore, with Alpha 3.22, we will not only focus on dogfighters and light fighters with the Gladius as a testbed in the public tests, but also collect and analyze much more data from your battles with different ship types. The Vanguard Heavy Fighter, the Super Hornet Medium Fighter, and the Buccaneer Medium Interceptor have therefore undergone balance adjustments and will be the focus of testing. IFCS changes. To improve 1v1 mechanics, we've added a few things to IFCS to support more diverse flight behaviors and be less prone to cheating and macroing. 1. IFCS movement simulation. When a ship is controlled with digital inputs like keyboard, the actual movement is now simulated. This means a simulated stick or throttle cannot move from 0 to 1 in one frame. This smooths out general movement and helps with pip wiggling. 2. IFCS boost ramping. Boost can now be ramped up and down. For example, it is not immediately active at full strength, which smooths out general movement and reduces pip wiggling, and ramp up and ramp down times can be balanced independently for each ship. 3. Boost direction modifiers. Boost modifiers can now be applied per boost direction, not just per axis. This means we have a lot more control over individual performance parameters. For example, we can now disallow boosting backwards. 4. Boosted rotation rates. While boost is held, ships are now able to momentarily reach higher rotation rates. The boost ramping helps smooth that process. 5. New tricording limiter. The old tricording limiter was too harsh when your ship was not perfectly accelerating along an axis, which easily happens with stick inputs. The new limiter only cuts accelerations back when you hit the side limits. Specifically for racers, that should feel better than in previous master mode test runs. Flight tuning. Master mode testing in Alpha 3.20 and 3.21 was mostly about symmetric combat, so now we're tuning different ships. For this round, we want to figure out if our so-called archetype ships feel right in relation to each other. To do that, we're equipping you with 4 ships that we want to be good in respect to their roles, as opposed to the Persistent Universe ships. The Master Mode ships have been tuned to have less relative flight performance differences between each other. Just to be clear, there are pretty big differences, but they are not as drastic as in the Persistent Universe. The Master Mode ships have been retuned and should feel nice in terms of general handling, but with clear pros and cons. Instead of listing them all out, we suggest you try them. Here's the list. The Gladius, light fighter. It's agile, but can't take much of a beating. It is not a brawler. The Super Hornet is a medium fighter, sturdy and impressive agility for the weapon load. Buccaneer, medium interceptor. It can't turn well, but speeds forwards like no other. Vanguard Heavy Fighter, not the fastest or most agile ship, but it has a higher damage output than all others. It should be pretty tanky as well. Weapon changes. Ranges of all weapons have been vastly increased and spread was added to all of them. You can now hit targets from multiple kilometers away to allow breaking up fire patterns. Gatling guns will heat up so they cannot fire forever. You will be able to test these master modes in 4 different modes, at least in Arena Commander: Squadron Battle, Classic Race, Endless Vandal Swarm, and Free Flight. Star Citizen, very keen to get feedback on master modes, so once you've tested them, once you've played around with them, give Cloud Imperium some feedback. Although just playing and messing around will give metrics to Cloud Imperium. I'm liking that Cloud Imperium are actively engaging us with master modes, getting feedback and talking about it. Hope they give us more and more updates with each major patch about the direction it's going and what they saw. I'm really interested to know what people's thoughts are on the sort of master mode tests that they've already done and these sort of updates to it as well. Do you think it's going in the right direction? There were some related questions on Spectrum that got answered in regards to ship UI and pips as well, with CIG saying the current UI implementation in 3.22 is the same as in 3.20 because they missed an integration deadline, and then they basically went on to answer some questions. So 1, will the pip get more visible than it's currently in master modes? It's difficult to always see against ship backgrounds or maps. Not for 3.22, but later in release, yes. A thing that helps EG is the UI scaling, which Tony mentioned during the CitizenCon demo. 2, there's also a fading effect. Will there be an option to turn off fading so it's always visible? Flying lead pip provides information even when it is further from the ship. We can add an option to not fade out the pip. It usually fades away when you're directly on top, but it should be easy to add an option for that. 3, will there be an option to have a single colour even for multiple weapon groups? The green and red may not always be helpful in certain situations. That's up to the UI team. In general, from our gameplay side, we just need a thing that says the guns for the pip are now in range and are likely to hit if you fire now. Personally, I do not have strong feelings about using symbology over colour. so feel free to make suggestions. Also, we found out that bullet speeds will drastically change in the future as well. I suppose that's true of pretty much all things to do with metrics, ship combat, and balance. The Cloud Imperium are going to be improving that significantly as they bring all the Squadron 42 features over, and they get the resource management system in, and then they develop master modes further and tweak them for every single ship in the game. There is not going to be a monthly report this month in December, because they have a big one in January, and that goes over basically November, December, all in a single big chunky monthly report, so we've got that to look forward to. But I'm really interested to know your thoughts on Alpha 3.22. Are you testing it now in open at EPTU? What are you thinking of that? Do you think Cloud Imperium will be able to get it out for this weekend? Do you think it's going to be something that they'll have to push to next week? Are you enjoying the Santokyi and the X1 if you've played around with them? What do you think of master modes, and have you been playing around with those much, or are you playing much more in the actual persistent universe? Are you waiting for 3.22 to go live before you actually test it at all? Whatever your thoughts and questions, I would love to hear from you in the comments below.
Ho ho ho, it's me, Father Nordmus. That's right, it's that time again to see who's on my naughty list for who doesn't have a VPN. No, that's Northern Claus! Grass from Northern Claus, Timmy. You should be scared of not having a VPN. As you know, Father Nordmus punishes all that disobey him. It's the perfect Nordmus present, Timmy. There's no excuse. I can see all of your website history, and I'm going to sell all of your data, Tim.
NordVPN helps protect your online activity, gives you greater accessibility to the content you want by changing your location, and much, much more. Go to nordvpn.com/BoredGamer before Das Northern Claus finds you. Every month we have a Star Citizen ship giveaway. For December, we are giving away a Drake Corsair. It's the winner of the 2953 Ship Showdown and one of the stars of the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo. This fantastic multi-role, multi-crew, long-range mission runner can do a bit of everything in-game, and it has a penchant for exploration. Just comment on any of my videos during December to be in for a chance of winning that. There are further details in the description below. A big thank you to everyone that goes the extra mile in supporting the channel via Patreon or the join button under my videos and becoming a channel member. It will net you some exclusive content from Zin and I, but also it really does help us to be able to create daily Star Citizen content, as does sharing these videos and commenting. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the verse.